Good evening, and welcome to this week in... Good evening, and welcome to This Week in Joe's Basement. I'm Joe, and this is my basement. So, this week in Joe's Basement, we're going to look at people from different and unusual perspectives to try to see sides of people that you don't usually see, and along the way, examine some questions of self-identity and so forth. But we want to begin this show with a disclaimer, which is that, me and Joe's Basement have always tried to be honest with you, the viewers, and, well, not always, but specifically in one department, which is alerting you ahead of time to when we don't have a very good show. So, what we've done as a special service this week is we put all of our good material first. Okay, so that if you start to sense maybe a downturn, in the level of interest, maybe it's not up to usual Joe's Basement caliber. Well, it's 11:30 at night. Why don't you just go to sleep or do something else? I mean, haven't you got something better to do than watching public access cable television? I mean, surely you must be onto something when you know that a TV station is not only free, but doesn't have any commercials. Anyway. So, in case you should be leaving us early, be sure to tune in next week. And, in the meantime, don't watch too much TV. Because not only is it not good for you, sometimes it's just not all that entertaining, Watch Twin Peaks. You should. That's a pretty good show, or at least it was. As of this taping, I don't know. David Lynch. I wonder if that's another rule violation. I don't know whether I'm allowed to plug other shows on this or not. Oh, I should plug another thing. Ken Nordine. There's a fabulous radio show, and he comes on BEZ right after this show. And I think they put his. I don't have cable, so I don't really know, but I think they put his audio over the air with the those messages that they run all night on Access. So you can just turn down your brightness, and enjoy some Now Nordine. It's a great show. It's excellent stuff. Anyway, so on with the show. People from unusual perspectives this week in Joe's Basement. Let's come up with a different title. How about no, that's already been used.
How about feet?
Feet this week in Joe's Basement. I think he's the last feet you ever see.
Well, that's why we'd say it, because of our irreverent style.
Oh, I see. I get it. It's a witty remark conveying our
rebellious posture of this show.
Yeah, our lack of interest in propriety. No, I don't think it cuts up. Oh well.
Nobody listens to me anymore. You know that? Just the other day, I went to the store to get some cigarettes. I asked the guy behind the counter for a pack of Marlboros. He is this really slimy, creepy-looking guy with his shirt unbuttoned halfway down, like it was attractive or something. I mean, this guy is a clerk at a convenience store. What does he think he's doing? He says to me, "Hey, baby, we did cigarettes last week. Why don't you try something different? Something more original." Something more original? I'm ready to bite the guy's head off. But I figure it's been a hot day. Maybe I'm a little more short-tempered than usual. So I say, "Look, I am not your baby, so why don't you just cool it, bub? I've had a lousy day, and I don't need any of this crap, okay? Just because you're some Weasley reprobate with hair growing up to your nostrils doesn't mean you can't sell me a pack of cigarettes. He looks surprised. Then he brightens a bit and he says, oh, I see what you mean. I thought you said candy bar. So finally the guy reaches underneath the counter and pulls out a box.
Hey, wait a minute.
What?
That's not what I said.
What do you mean that's not what I said?
I mean, that's not what I said. I never said anything about a candy bar.
No, he said I thought you meant candy bar.
No, I remember I never asked for a candy bar.
I know, but I said the guy behind the counter did.
No, I never said that. I didn't.
Look, I remember exactly what I said. Listen. Something more original? I'm ready to bite the guy's head off, but I figure it's been a hot day. Maybe I'm a little more short-tempered than usual. So I say, look, I am not your baby, so why don't you just cool it, bub, okay? I've had a lousy day, and I don't need any of this crap. Just because you're some weaselly reprobate with hair growing all the way up to your nostrils doesn't mean you can't sell me a candy bar. The guy was surprised. Then he brightens a bit, and he says, oh, I see what you mean. I thought you said cigarettes. So finally the guy reaches underneath the counter and he pulls out this box of cigar bars. I said candy bar.
Well, I'll be damned. So I did. That's not what I meant.
Yes, it is. I meant candy bar.
No, it isn't. When I said candy bar, what I meant was I was searching for something better in life, for a new sense of purpose.
I never said that.
Well, that's what I meant.
When I said that, I didn't mean anything by it. I just wanted a pack of cigarettes, okay? Just a pack of cigarettes. Excuse me. Excuse me?
What?
That's not what I said.
What do you mean
That's not what I said.
See, I meant cigarettes.
I know what I said. I just told you. The clerk said I thought you meant candy bar. Remember what I said.
No,
I said, look,
No, I'm not your baby.
So
why don't you just give me a candy bar?
Candy bar. No, I said candy bar.
No, I didn't ask for a pack of
No, I remember
cigarettes.
this. I did not ask
I didn't ask for a candy bar.
I asked for cigarettes.
No,
I mean, I didn't
asked
ask for
for a
cigarettes. I
candy
asked for
bar.
a candy bar.
Or did I ask for cigarettes?
No, I
asked for cigarettes.
No, I remember. I'm the one who said it.
I asked for cigarettes.
I want a pack of. I want a candy bar. You're
asked
getting me
for
so
cigarettes.
confused. I did not ask for a pack of cigarettes. I want a candy bar. I said I wanted a candy bar.
I didn't say anything about a candy bar.
I asked for cigarettes.
Yes, I wanted a candy bar.
Stupid. I know what I said. I do. I know what I said. I asked for cigarettes. I think.
Okay, I can tell you a story of when I was a teenager and I'd done the runner. I ran off from my home. Well, when I think I was, it must have been about 13 years old. I didn't get on with my parents. And I felt just, see you later, I'm going to run away. I couldn't handle being, stepfather pressure anymore. So off I went. And
Where did you live?
Okay, I lived in London, in a town called Romford. It's on the east end of London. It's just kind of on the outside, around there somewhere anyway. And thought I was real hip, I used to go hang out with punks and stuff, and, our teenagers do. And anyway, I had this friend, Tony Barbaras. He was a punk. He used to have tattoos, covered from head to toe with tattoos, right? And he had a girlfriend, Julie, and we used to hang out together a lot, big time. And they said, okay, let's get a band together. We're going to France, Italy, Spain, Mallorca, Malta, and we're going to grab a person from each part of the country, and get a band together. I'm like, yeah, this is really great, So I decided to go. But, the funny thing was, I didn't have a passport. So I thought, what am I going to do? So my friend Julie, she was, in England, there's a thing called, if you'd lived with a man for more than 6 months, you're known as common law man and wife, okay? So she had a passport made up in his name, her name, but his name, you know what I mean, like Julie Barbaras. And I borrowed her birth certificate, and I went to the post office, and I got myself a passport. This was a one-day passport, okay? And I went to France on a one-day passport under a false name. We had the same birth date. We had the same, address and everything. The only thing was different was the last name. Okay, so we both was Julie. I was Julie O'Connor and she was Julie Barbaras, So we went to France. So off we went, and where did we go first? We went to a place called Montparnasse. See, I wasn't aware of where I was going and what was going on. I was just there, I was just there with him, I wasn't, I remember one place though was Montparnasse, and somehow I suppose it was because we all shaved our heads. By the way, well actually I didn't shave my head intentionally. Somebody did it for me without me knowing. They got me absolutely wasted, paralytic drunk the night before we were going, and my hair was pretty much the same as it was now than it was then, And I woke up in the morning and my head was hanging over the bathtub, and I was shaven. I didn't have any hair left, and I was really, really mad. I was really mad. I mean, you could just tell I was really mad. I mean, I just went nuts. Well, anyway, everything cooled down then. So we're in France now, and they knew people out there I didn't know. And, well, this is kind of a sad story, but, it's kind of interesting. I think so anyway. And Tony Barbaras was an absolute dick. I mean, he was an arsehole, he was the biggest prat around, at least I thought anyway. And he used to beat up on his girlfriend, and I used to watch this. I used to watch this quite often, and I couldn't really say anything because I knew I'd get my teeth knocked in, if I'd do anything or say anything, And anyway, I just let it be, and he tried to get me on the game. France is big for the prostitution, And I was like, fuck you, sorry, see you later, I'm not doing this, And they left me stranded in the middle of France. Absolutely, I was on my own, didn't have nothing, just me and a few clothes, and that's it. So I made friends with this one girl, and she let me stay in her apartment, like, I don't know what they call them out there, just apartment anyway. And I stayed with her for like 2 weeks, and met her parents and everything. And then we fell out, we had a falling out, we broke up and everything, and I was like, oh, drag. So I ended up squatting, and squatting in France is illegal, okay, when you live somewhere you're not supposed to. Okay, well, I lived in, like, there was this old house, and it was burned down, like half of the house was knocked down and everything, so it was like pretty much disaster, So it was like open, you could see where the stairs were and everything, And I stayed there, and then, by this time I'd made friends with other people, okay, like I'd gotten in with all the punk rockers and everything, and, and they all, like, they showed me where this one place was, and I used to stay there, and other people used to crash there too, and one morning it was about 5:30 in the morning, and we had this, out there, like in French, and I was like, oh my God, what's happening now? And there were these cops. And I was really scared. And if you run from a cop, they shoot at you. They shoot down at your floor. And I was like, oh my God, I'm scared, right? So I was going to make them run for it, but I didn't. And one of the cops shot their gun. And I was like, oh my God. Oh. And I just got down on the floor real quickly, spread, just you like this, out on the floor, face down. And so they rounded us all up, and they put us in the back of the car, in the truck thing, police wagon, whatever. They took us down to the police station, and the cops gave us, like, searched us and everything for any drugs and that, and my passport was ripped in two, right? It was like completely demolished. I mean, where it had been screwed up and everything at that time, and let me see, and they were like, who are you? And, they took my name and everything, and then after about 9 hours being left in a cell, they let us go, and they let me go, and I pretty much stayed out in France for like, well, I hung out, made friends with people, bummed off the streets, bummed around, and pretty much lived that way, and until I met this one guy, and he was from Australia, and he'd been in France for like 6 months, studying France and French and all that, and he wanted to go to see England, and because, it's just across the water, so I figured, well, I'd like to go back to England, to get things, see what's going on over there. And so what did I do? Okay, so this guy said to me, well, I'll make a deal with you. If you go to England, I'll pay for your fare, only if you show me England. So I said, that sounds good. So we went down and we got on the ferry and we went into England, and there we are in England. The only thing is they stopped me at the passport place because they wanted to know, you know, about my passport, because it was like all ripped and well, I got away with that anyway. I was like, you got to help me, I got to get back to England. I mean, I'm English, you can't kick me out of my own country, you know. So anyway, here I am in England, and I showed this one guy all around as much of England as I could. Didn't have any money or anything, so I was pretty much eating dog food and cat food or whatever I could get my hands on. Yeah, I ate that. It was pretty much drag. I was squatting in England, and anyway, I was down in London where all the punks hang out, and there's a place called the King's Road. It's a main street in England where all the punks hang out, and they're just dressed up, and you know, everyone, it's a tourist attraction where people go take pictures. But you know, the big thing is if they take a picture, you got to like charge them, you know, because you can't just, in England it's the law that if somebody takes your picture and they don't ask your permission, you can steal their film from their camera, and you know, it's not illegal or any, I mean, it's, you know, you can do that. So anyway, I pretty much said, you know, if people want to take my picture, I'd say, yeah, give me this much money, like 10 quid, like 10 pounds, which is like 20 bucks a picture or something. So I lived like that for a little while, and then I met a friend of mine from my little town where I come from, which is Romford, and he's like, he wasn't sure if it was me or not, and I recognised him, and I went up to him and I'm saying like, hi, how you doing? And then he just slapped me in the head and he said, you're out of order, you know. And I'm like, what's the matter with you, you know? What do you? And he's like, do you know what you're doing? He said, you're in the paper. I'm like, get away, I'm not in the paper. What are you talking about? Go, you know, don't give me this shit. And he said, you are. It was only a local paper, you know, like not the big main newspaper, but it was a local paper. And I was in the newspaper, and I was pretty shocked when I found out. So I called, our parents went on the telephone, so I called a neighbour, and I let my parents know that I was okay. And my mum was like freaked out, you know, because she didn't know if I was dead or alive or anything, you know. But by this time she was like, oh my God, where are you going? You know, I was put into a children's home when I was real young. So, and then let's see, and I'm like, okay, so I lived in London for a little while longer, and then I stayed there for about 2 years, I guess, and then I went back to my little town in Romford, and they put me with foster parents, and I stayed there for a while, and I met this one guy.
Great, this was about, must be over 2 years ago now. We're down in Urbana and doing acid with some of Jonathan's buddies, and for some reason or other we went out to play a little football. So in the middle of winter, these are the type of guys that would do acid and play football, okay, and the type of people you get down in Urbana. So one of the guys says, all right, says to another guy, I'll go out for a long one. And he grabs the football and just tosses it way out, and this guy just turns around and runs. And we give up on the game, and we fool around a little bit, and we go back home to where it's warm, have a little bit to drink, smoke some grass, and chill out. And about an hour later, the doorbell rings. We go to answer the door, and here's this guy with the fucking football, and he's covered in sweat. Like, what happened? He was, well, he used to go out for a long run. He like ran all the way across town and back, carrying the fucking football.
It's ridiculous.
And we'd totally spaced him out. We'd forgot he lived in this house with these people, and they'd forgotten about his very existence. They're like, oh, so that's what that's why we stopped playing. You took the football. Pretty bizarre. That's what acid does to you, I'll tell you.
When did you say he caught the football and then he ran away?
Yeah, he ran away with it. And we were just so fucked up that we spaced out the fact that he had run away with it. We stopped playing because we didn't have a football, and we didn't even remember why we had stopped playing. We didn't even think to say, where's the football? Where are you going, Joe?
Well, I was 16 by this time, and I met this one guy, and you know, I thought I was crazy about him. I thought I was in love and all this, and we went off to Scotland and got married because he had all this money. He had 8 grand. He got shot in the eye when he was 14 years old, so he had all this money, and it was really great, and we had a great time, and we did a bunch of stuff, you know. And some really weird things happened to me there, but I don't know whether to say anything or not, because I don't know whether I can say anything about this, but I can if I want. It's about drugs and stuff. Is that okay?
That's totally cool.
Okay, well, okay, we were in Scotland, and we had a ton of money, and believe it or not, we had all this money, and we even slept it out in this basement thing for one night just because the banks were closed. Isn't that dumb? I mean, we could have gone to bed and breakfast and stayed there, but we didn't. So anyway, so we're in Scotland. Okay, I'm in Scotland. I've married this guy, and I'm in Scotland. I'm 16 years old, you know, and I think the world is great and everything, but it's not really, because he turned out to be a right arsehole in the end. But anyway. So we didn't have anywhere to get any drugs, you know, smoking hash and getting real stoned and all that stuff. So we did the dumbest thing of all, which I did one time, and it was kind of cool, but it's the stupidest thing of all, is to sniff glue, okay? Now there's this glue, what we use in England, is called Evo Stick, and it's this really strong glue, and I've had some really amazing hallucinations from this stuff. So this is like on our wedding night, okay? Sniffing glue, great. You know, so anyway, we sniffed this glue, and then, anyway, but we went up to a place, you know, Edinburgh Castle, and there's like, okay, Edinburgh Castle's like in the middle, and there's this like this path going around, and on the edge of this path there were these fences, and we figured, right, where can we go sniff some glue? So we found this little. It was like a fence, and there was a ton of bushes and stuff all around. So we climbed this fence, and we sat down, and where we were, there was this, like, kind of on the other side, like around, there was this like brick wall, and there was this big spike about 2 feet in front of us sticking out the ground. Like, I don't know what it looked like, some kind of steak or something, right, sticking out the ground. And we're sitting there, and we're sniffing our glue, and then this is really weird, because I don't know why we both heard this, but we both heard voices, okay, saying, let me out, we're talking to each other, and they're saying, let me out, help us, you know, don't leave us in here, let us out, you know, all these voices, but we could both hear them, which is the really, you know, like when you hallucinate on glue, you don't usually both hear things at the same time, you usually go to do your own thing, you know, so we're like, you know, I can hear this, you can hear this, what's going on, you know? And this stake was moving into the ground. We could see it moving into the ground. It was going down like this. And we're like, and by this time we're like, we've got to get out of here. I was scared. I didn't know what was going on, you know. I mean, girls get usually scared real easily, and I was. So I said, let's cruise, you know, let's get out of here. You know, I don't want to stay around here too long. So anyway, we got out, we went away. And we went back there the next day, you know, just to see, you know, if we can remember where we were and stuff. We were just like going over our tracks, you know. So we went back over there, and we found the place where we were at, and we climbed the fence, and we looked around, and the stake was still there, still the same size as it was before, still in the same place. But when we looked at the wall behind us, we were actually leaning against these really, really ancient graveyards. Ooh, isn't that scary? I think that's pretty scary, especially when you're out of it on glue. And anyway, we went to Aberdeen. We met this one guy. He was busking on the streets, and we met him. And we went up to Aberdeen and stayed with a bunch of friends there. And we did all this acid and just tripped out of our brains and stuff like that too. And that was good fun. And anyway, the end of Scotland. We go back to where we live in our little town in Romford, and on the way back he's like, yeah, my mum said you can come live with me, you know, it's cool, we're married, you know. So when I get back there, she gives me so much shit. She just gives me all that shit, you know, you ran off with my son, you know, doing this, doing that. I'm like, what, you know, and I'm like, I love the guy, da 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 da, you know, because I really honestly thought I loved the guy, you know, just because, you know, you do. I mean, you just think you do at 16 years old, and you think you're in love and all this, but you're not really. But and anyway, I lived there for a while, and he's pretty much drugged out of his brain. He never wanted to work. He called himself an anarchist, you know. But I don't know whether he was an anarchist or not, because of the things. He used to work. Not a couple of days, and then he didn't, and then he did, and then he didn't, and then he wouldn't work at all for like 6 months, and would just live off of what he had left, and then well, anyway, he was a dick. I mean, he was just an arsehole, and I just blew him off altogether, really.
we enough. I am coined no crap. Sit down, which thou long thou again should tide would come. Should love 100 before the dues till the Jew. Love show to the empire slow, and years pays that not gaze. 4 or eat 30,000 the rest. Eat you this state, nor would I rate at my bed hurrying under off like dead ass to thine beauty found, nor in vault the echoing, and shall try that preserved fine and place. I think her. So therefore, as you sit in like morning, and what shoal treads of every part and fires, let us spot we may, and ravenous be rather, our time devour the in his slow power. Let us roll our strength and honest up and tool, and pleasures with rough fruits of life. Though we may not stand still, shall make him. That was good.
Very good, Anton.
Thank you.
Well, here's the story what happened. We decided to go live in this rented house, okay? And he was like, by this time, you know, scoring drugs and stuff, you know, he was like dealing it and stuff, you know, like hash, that's all, okay? Hash, nothing else, and a bit of acid now and again. And anyway, we had all this hash lying around, tons of it, da-da-da-da-da. And we were living in this house. We shared it with someone, but they were hardly ever there. And it was above a dry cleaning place, okay, and a pub was next door. And there were these really ferocious dogs that used to try and bite off your ankles every time you used to go up the stairs. But anyway, we were there for a while, and we had this huge argument, this really big argument, and, you know, I guess everyone has their arguments, but, like, I mean, when people have arguments, you know, they don't say, well, fuck you, and then they pull everything down. This is what he did. He pulled everything down from the cupboards and everything, and he's put it in the middle of the room, and he grabbed the marriage certificate and he put it on, and he set it on fire, and he locked the door. He locked the door in the room. We're in this small room, and he locked the door. And I was like, fuck you. You know, I was really mad by this time. I ran over to the window. I was kicking him in all the, you know, obvious places that you can think of, you know. And so I'm like, shit, you know, what you doing? And I'm like, so I'm kicking everything, you know, trying to get the fire going out, you know, I'm like, oh, you maniac, getting the covers and beating the covers like this. And I had a spare key, like, it was like sitting on the side, like sitting on like the dresser thing. And I'm like, I lifted up the window, I'm shouting, help! And I chucked the key down, I chucked the front door key, I'm like, help me, fire, help me! You know, and there's my ex-husband, you know, husband, like, fuck you, you know, swearing at me, what you think you're doing, and he's trying to grab me, and I'm like holding on with my arm out the window like this, and he's trying to pull me back, you know. And then I was up there for like 5-10 minutes, and somebody come running up the stairs and beating on the door like this, like, you know, open up the door, and I'm like, you open up the door, you arsehole, you know, and he like, so in the end he opened up the door, and I'm like, see you later, and I shot off. Well, I picked up a bunch of money and a bunch of drugs, and then I said, see you later, I'm going. So, and then I left, and then that was the end of that. The end.
You're learning.